wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about my favorite episodes from 2024 from the podcast, really giving you the highlights of these episodes so you can take action in 2025 and improve your chances of pregnancy success. Excited for you to listen to this episode wrap up, really giving you the tools right now so you can take action. Excited for you to listen. Let's go. Okay, so we're doing our 2024 holiday wrap up, my favorite episodes from 2024. We're going to be, so the podcast itself, I've been doing this for 7 years as of January 2025. Where'd the time go? Interviewing top experts in functional medicine, functional nutrition, and also fertility mindset. So mindset support as well. So excited. We're going to get into the top episodes on my favorite list here from 2024. But first of all, so thankful that you are here, that you are listening, that hopefully you find some value out of this podcast. I really share it with you so that you can take a couple of things away and take action. Because if you can listen to me all day long, but if you're not making the changes yourself, it's going to be a waste of my time and a waste of your time. Actually, it's not a waste of my time. I'm happy. Actually, I just want to say, there's Rosie. Rosie, she is living her best life on this bed. And we just had some snow and she was out running in it. So I'm sure she's made the bed nice and wet. Okay, so we're going to get into, I personally, I've found all this functional medicine, functional nutrition information probably about 13, 14 years ago, changed my diet, changed my lifestyle, addressed the stress. Is it perfect? No. But just having people kind of look at things differently and knowing that you can take control of your health, and especially with you're dealing with fertility issues, there's things you can do right now that can have major change on your ability to conceive. If the majority of us can get pregnant naturally, why are we all rushing to IVF thinking that is the only solution to pump our body full of hormones and medications, and we don't know the long-term side effects? So let's get into the episodes here. So the first one we have here is how to naturally boost estrogen and get pregnant. So a lot of signs of some low estrogen. A lot of people we work with low AMH and high FSH, they've got low estrogen. So dry skin, weak or brittle bones, which you want maybe if you're breaking some bones, moodiness and irritability. I get that a lot too. I had that for years where I'm like, tear my husband's eyeballs out. He would breathe and I'm like, why are you breathing so loudly? Why are you chewing so loudly? As we started to balance our hormones out, sometimes we need some bioidentical help, which we'll talk about that in a bit, but that can help with the irritability, vaginal dryness. Intercourse being like cut glass. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is not fun. As we started to balance hormones, we've got a little help in there with some estrogen vaginally that can, help with that. And so it's not about we, exclude medication or hormones. You want to make sure they're bioidentical that you're using from a compounding pharmacy, but but doing that all by itself is just a Band-Aid. We need to make the targeted diet and lifestyle changes. Why is the estrogen low to begin with? Irregular periods, weight gain around your belly, headaches before your period, low libido, right? Difficult when you're on the fertility journey. We got low libido and just feeling like tired or have insomnia. And then so a lot of this stuff we see around so those are the symptoms or signs. And how to boost, definitely look at the episode. I'm going to give you all the tips in there. But is it the thyroid? And there's going to be a reoccurring theme throughout this wrap up where it's working on the foundational pieces. Like you don't have a supplement deficiency and you don't have a medication deficiency. You might have a sleep deficiency and maybe you have a diet filled with ultra processed foods, or maybe it's organic foods, but you're not absorbing them. So, for boosting estrogen, we need to be able to optimize your thyroid. Spoke to someone the other day. She told me her TSH was 4. Well, no, even your REI is going to want that below 2. We got to look at the full panel, including antibodies. Addressing the stress, the elephant in the room, like really our whole thesis on low AMH and high FSH is it actually early menopause, or is it your adrenals? And even if you're like, I'm not stressed, I feel pretty good, I'm coping okay here, maybe your body's not. And then the gut microbiome, your REI is not going to say, let's look at the health of your gut microbiome. Even if you don't, this is not about you having, oh, the dog, she's living her best life. If you can see her there, she's just enjoying life. And so this is not about, with the gut health piece. Now I lost my train of thought, too focused on the dog. If you've got an infection, this is something that they're not trained in, right? So, and being able to address those infections and work on the health of the gut, which is highly tied to the health of the ovaries. And so even if you've got very low follicle count, once we address these things, we've seen follicle counts improve, AMH improve, and FSH decline. So that's the first one we do, how to boost estrogen naturally and get pregnant. Number 2, we have the number 1 thing we can do to get pregnant this year is work on our health. Take our health into our own hands. Don't take no for an answer. Really look at those seemingly unrelated health issues for your fertility. And those are the clues that can actually help you get pregnant. If you're dealing with skin issues, acne, psoriasis, dermatitis, eczema, if you're dealing with joint issues, so stiff joints, or maybe you got carpal tunnel syndrome all the time. All these things are like inflammation in the body, itis. So dermatitis, anything with an itis is inflammation. Maybe you have got mood issues, ADHD, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, all of those mood issues, irritability, obviously having the hormones out of balance, but also maybe you've been suffering with anxiety, depression, panic attacks for years and been put on medication, SSRI, that can then negatively impact the health of your gut. And so it's this chicken or the egg thing. And so did you have gut issues all along? Did you have, so the gut, that's where the neurotransmitters are made, and that can really impact the health of your mood. Maybe you have digestive issues such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, gas, burping. All these things can be common, but not normal, and it's time for us to dig deeper. Is there underlying food sensitivity? Not about going on some really restrictive diet forever. It's for a short period of time, taking out the top allergens for 10 days and then systematically reintroducing them. Being able to then heal the gut. A lot of times we see these infections. If you're not addressing those infections, you have a similar gut microbiome where you're passing infections back and forth to your partner, and also the vaginal microbiome. Done many episodes on that one. The vaginal microbiome, or maybe especially if you've had UTIs, bacterial vaginosis, thrush, and anyone on the fertility journey, and if you have had miscarriage, pregnancy loss, looking at the health of the vaginal microbiome. Maybe you have uroplasma. You need to have some antibiotics to address that. So an overgrowth of bad bacteria in the vaginal microbiome is key. Not about going for another retrieval or a transfer and wondering why it's not working. And then just focusing on the AMH piece, right? And thinking that, there's nothing you can do. Well, AMH is a poor predictor of live birth outcomes. We're just looking at the wrong biomarkers. We need to look at our health, looking at your lipids, your iron, your full thyroid panel, your vitamin D. We see low AMH correlated with low vitamin D. B12, maybe it could be high, but maybe it's falsely high because you're not actually absorbing any of it. Maybe you're taking a folic acid and you need to make sure it's a methylfolate. So you don't want to take folic acid in your prenatal. You want to have a methylfolate, because so many of us, 60 to 80% of us, have the MTHFR gene variant, which impairs your ability to methylate your vitamins properly. Then you have a deficiency. Maybe that's why you've got anxiety and panic attacks, because the B levels are low. And many times people that have a lot of nausea in pregnancy, it can be they're low in B vitamins. The underlying piece of this is we need to dig deeper into our health. And most people that I speak with, they've already made some diet changes. Maybe you've read, I'll get to this in a minute. Maybe you've read it starts with the egg, and you've taken the supplements and follow follow the recommendations there, but those are just generalized recommendations. A lot of that is just used to be able to have you go to improve the chances of IVF. But if the majority of us can get pregnant naturally, let's dig deeper and take our health into our own hands. And really also the elephant in the room here is the stress piece. If you're working more than 50 hours a week, you've got a toxic workplace, a demanding job, a demanding boss, you're, living and breathing, working, where's the space for your baby? What if when you have your child, the little girl or guys at daycare, you get a call saying, they're sick. Well, you have to drop everything. So we need to start that now. Being able to we don't need to be looking at the laptop and working on the phone until 10, 11, 12 at night. We need to be able to focus on our rest, focus on our downtime, setting boundaries, that boundary word, but setting boundaries and saying no. Like, you don't need to attend every last meeting in your company. You can decline them, and maybe you only come for 15 minutes. Like, it's not necessary that you're working these crazy hours. And look, many people, it was not about quitting your job. I've done podcasts on this. It's actually, having a conversation with your boss, being able to see where you can delegate if needed, and set times in your calendar where you can go out to do appointments, and maybe just for the appointment is the appointment with yourself, where you take your lunch, where you go home early, maybe 4 or 5 for you, because you're so used to staying till 6 or 7. And then everyone else that has children is rushing out the door, and you think, well, I'll just stay here longer. It's okay. And maybe you've outstayed the time that you wanted to be in the current job because you thought you'd be pregnant, and now you don't want to change jobs because you're going to be pregnant, and then you'll go on mat leave. And so it is, the current job. Where can you pull back? Where can you delegate? Where can you have conversations with your boss? If you are the boss, see where you can delegate more, and make the changes to the current job, if that's the thing that's causing a lot of stress. And then a lot of times people are so stressed out by the fertility journey and doing all these transfers and retrievals back to back and pumping your body full of medication. I'm recording this at the end of the year. So as we head into 2025, take the time to really get your body in the best shape for either getting pregnant naturally, or if you do need to go to IVF, you feel it's time, you're going to improve the chances of this working, because you would have boosted up your immune system, improved your nutrient deficiencies, got your body back online to be able to procreate. So it is putting your health first. If you go and ask an REI, your reproductive endocrinologist and fertility specialist, hey, does diet and lifestyle changes matter? They're going to say, yeah, they're okay. I don't think they're going to say don't do them, but they're not going to say it's integral. Well, you just asked the wrong person. Doctors receive little more than 1 week of nutrition training in medical school. Many of the medical schools are funded by big pharma. They're incentivized to do surgeries, to prescribe, rather than looking at the underlying reasons for an imbalance. And in this case, fertility issues are reversible. If the majority of us can get pregnant naturally, what do we need to do? Obviously, if you got blocked tubes, that's why IVF was developed, and now it's being recommended for people with unexplained infertility is a completely lazy diagnosis where someone hasn't dug deeper. It's not unexplained. There's something going on, and we've worked with a lot of people with unexplained infertility, and there's reason. Thyroid, anemia, like triglycerides are off. So then your blood sugar. So there's reasons. So the number one thing we can do to get pregnant this year is work on our health. So definitely check out that episode. We go through all the strategies. Okay, number 3, why addressing homocysteine levels can boost your egg and your sperm health. So we talk a lot about female fertility here. We are always coaching couples, unless you're single by choice. We're coaching couples. We need to work on him, because what if you've had pregnancy loss and no one's looked at that, no one's looked at his semen analysis, or maybe they have, but they haven't looked at the DNA fragmentation, and missing a huge healing opportunity there. And then maybe no one's looked at his blood work. So we've got to look at him. And most people, well, all the people we work with have an open mind, and each person has their own health goals and they're ready to make changes. So homocysteine is an amino acid involved in methylation. And so what we're seeing here is that because of this MTHFR gene variant, which 60 to 80% of us have, it can prevent the absorption of the unmethylated B vitamins. And the homocysteine, it can impact homocysteine levels. So, and it's a marker of inflammation. And so once we address that and being able to nourish the body, and do a whole hour episode on this, choline is important with homocysteine metabolism. So maybe you just need, methylated, well, you want to make sure you have methylfolate, maybe you need more choline, but why is it low? Because we need to be able to boost up your methylation pathways. So it's a fairly intricate balance there. We do genetic testing that can improve pregnancy outcomes, and maybe you have it and help us. So it's different than the karyotyping testing that you're going to do at the fertility clinic, which only impacts about 10% of couples. So you've got some sort of chromosomal issue going on. And this is looking at the DNA of your DNA, and what are the specific diet, lifestyle, and supplement recommendations to support those gene variants. Maybe you need more support with your methylation pathways because you have that MTHFR gene variant, which we do see a lot of people that have recurrent miscarriage. That can be a factor. You need more support with choline. Maybe you have you've naturally got your inflammatory markers are elevated. So what we can do to support that. And a lot of this is very tweaking, right? With diet and lifestyle and supplements. So it's giving more choline perhaps, but maybe you find out that people are pounding down lots of eggs, but many times people are intolerant to the whites. And we think we're having all these eggs because of the choline, but maybe the eggs are a top allergen. So it's just very personalized. You take that like we're all unique. You take generalized recommendations, you're going to think, oh, that didn't work. And then you give up. But it's not about going wider. It's going deeper into personalized, looking at testing, knowing your numbers, being able to advocate for yourself. And then in the genetic testing, maybe you've got a vitamin D SNP that you're not able to assimilate vitamin D properly. And so this really helps to improve pregnancy outcomes, prevent gestational diabetes, prevent preeclampsia, really have a healthy pregnancy and then postpartum period. So that homocysteine is key. It can really boost your egg and sperm health, and to measure that marker. And if you have being told, oh, you have poor egg quality, they can't measure for egg quality, but if you're being told that the retrievals aren't making it, the transfer isn't making it, the embryos are being tested, being abnormally tested, looking at the inflammation marker in your body is key for both egg and sperm health. And so that's a marker to look at. I do a deep dive with my clinical advisor there for the team on that episode. So I would encourage you to look at that. So why addressing homocysteine levels can boost egg and sperm health. Number 3, top fertility supplements you must have to get pregnant this year. So our top fertility supplements are methylated prenatal. We have a whole Fab Naturals, Fab for Life Naturals fertility supplement line, which you can check out at fflnaturals.com and use the code FAB15 for discount for these supplements. But we have a methylfolate prenatal, which we've custom formulated, vitamin D3K2, CoQ10, which is good for egg and sperm health, omega, which all of us need, the essential fatty acids. There's a men's multi and a probiotic. We also recommend magnesium. So these ones are the foundational supplements you need to improve pregnancy for both male and female. Anything else, we're just throwing, we're just taking too many things, and we need to be able to test and to dig deeper on this. So maybe you're taking Vitex Maca, maybe you're taking bee pollen, maybe you're taking NAC, maybe you're taking glutathione. Like some of those things can be good, but we want to make sure that you need them to start with. Maybe you're taking ashwagandha, maybe you're taking inositol or other things for blood sugar. But is your blood sugar off? We do see a theme with blood sugar being off, but we want to make sure before we just blindly throw all these supplements. I see people taking a boatload of them. Do you just have expensive pee? Are they right for you? Do you need all of them? And you don't have a supplement deficiency, We need to look at the diet and lifestyle along with it. So the foundational ones are key: the methylfolate, prenatal, the vitamin D3K2, magnesium, CoQ10, omega, men's multi, and probiotic. So those ones are the must-haves. And then anything else we need to be able to customize, looking at your blood work and making a determination if it's best for you. I know you've read a lot of books and blogs. It says to take a whole list of these things. It's expensive, and we need to make sure they're needed. So that's episode number 4, the top supplements you must have to get pregnant this year. Number 5, what foods to eat if you have low AMH and or high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency. We have got to do the elimination diet. I have done multiple episodes on this. I've given away, there's lots of guides I have. You can email hello@fabfertile.ca and just say 10-day. It'll give you the 10-day elimination diet, exactly how to do it, all for free. But basically, and I've got a whole program that has the meal plan, grocery shopping list, but you can do it for free with that episode, with that guide. So just send that message over there. So start this January the 1st. Don't mess around. Basically take the top allergens out for 10 days. You can do anything for 10 days. Take out dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, eggs, processed sugar, and alcohol. 10 days, systematically reintroduce. You bring back in corn, eat it a couple times that day, wait 3 days, note any symptoms, stop the food for 60 to 90 days, continue on. Any symptoms, you take that food out for 60 to 90. Basically, dairy and gluten, when you can bring it back in, see how it makes you feel. But then we want you to stop dairy and gluten for sure for 60 to 90 days. We will then tweak it with food sensitivity testing to be able to see, exactly how food impacts your body. And then if you want to fast track it, the food sensitivity testing, and then healing the gut, addressing gut infections, and the genetic testing that we're doing as well. That's going to fast track it. But it's not about you doing carnivore, or I've done blogs on that. Don't be doing carnivore. That's too restrictive, and maybe it's better for men, but like for cycling women, we just don't recommend it. It can be too restrictive. Some people taking out those inflammatory foods, you can feel pretty good, but you might not be getting some of the essential nutrients that you need. So this is a short-term thing, and it's not about you being on some restrictive diet for years, right? It's to figure out if you have a food sensitivity, heal the gut, bring most of the foods back in. I've got people that are, eating a whole bunch of avocados or whatever it is. And maybe because you have leaky gut, intestinal permeability, your body then mounts an immune response to your favorite foods. And next thing you know, you're intolerant to everything you're eating. So your avocados, the cucumbers, the celery that you decide to do a whole bunch of celery juicing, whatever it is. As we heal the gut, we can bring most of these foods back in. It's not about you staying away from fruit. So many people that are afraid of fruit, so staying away. No, we don't want to do any of that. This is eating. So you would have wild caught fish, grass-fed meat, organic poultry, half the plate to a quarter of the plate vegetables, or 3/4 of the plate vegetables, and you can have a little bit of starch if needed. So some sweet potatoes, rice if tolerating. You need to look at your glucose levels too. You can have some healthy fats in there too. So olive oil, or cook it in tallow or lard, organic, coconut oil, things like that. Being able to have more animal fats in there, because stay away from the seed oils. I think a lot of us know the seed oils, the canola, the sunflower, the safflower, the peanut oil, like all those, they are just horrible for our body, are causing inflammation. We want to steer clear of that stuff, and basically having nice oils and then animal fats too. So what to eat, do the elimination diet. That's where you start. It's simple. You can do anything for 10 days, suck it up, start and get going. This is a great time of year to do this. So what foods to eat if you have low AMH or high FSH? There it is, black and white. Number 6, why AMH is the wrong biomarkers to focus on, what to do instead to get pregnant this year. So a lot of times with the AMH, we go down a rabbit hole when we get this number, and we think it's a marker of your ovarian reserve, but it does not test your ability. It does not measure your ability to get pregnant naturally. It doesn't measure your uterine receptivity. and it doesn't measure your egg quality. So it's a measurement to see how well you'll do with IVF. And people use, and the clinics use it to scare the crap out of you, to say that you better rush to IVF and that your reserve is dwindling. We got to do an aggressive IVF, maybe a gentle IVF. We need to, probably the only option for you because it's so low is donor eggs. We need to, maybe you just got to go right to adoption is what what people are told. So it's the wrong biomarker. We don't want to be blind to the AMH and the FSH. You want to know what they are. But we need to look at other biomarkers in the body, like we talked about, the lipids, the iron, your full thyroid panel. We see a lot of people with, 1 to 0 follicles, and we start looking at your thyroid health. The adrenals impact the thyroid, which impacts the AMH and the FSH and the follicle count. And so as we optimize all of that piece, and then potentially bring in thyroid medication if needed, because we do see that theme of Hashimoto's or Graves, more Hashies, hypothyroidism or subclinical thyroid issues is not the liver, it's not the thyroid, it's the liver or the gut. As we make those targeted diet and lifestyle changes, and yes, gluten and the thyroid are not a good match. And so if you already know you have a thyroid issue, say goodbye to gluten. Just take it out. There's tons of gluten-free options. There's no one suffering. I have a thyroid issue. I don't do gluten. I was in Italy recently. I accidentally got gluten because I thought, well, maybe I can try. I was going to try gluten in Italy, and it didn't work. And so I don't have celiac. If you have celiac, you're not trying gluten. But non-celiac, people say, oh, I go to Europe and I can have gluten. Well, my daughter doesn't do well with gluten here, but there she was okay. Well, she's younger. She's 23. The body hasn't I'm a little bit older. But the point is here, it can be sprayed with glyphosate. It's, the body just mounts an immune response to it. And if you have the thyroid issues, you want to take out gluten for sure. So, with AMH, so the AMH is the wrong biomarker. We want to look at, do you have non-celiac gluten sensitivity? Do you have a gut infection? Is there a thyroid imbalance? Is there blood sugar issues going on? Do you have a nutrient deficiency? Is your vitamin D low? Are you anemic? And maybe then, then the thyroid's off as well. Is there issues going on with your triglycerides, where we see that it can be trending the wrong way? We like it between 70 to 80. And we see people they're high because could there be insulin resistance as well? So this is all tied together. It's not about you then having high glucose and someone's going to put you on metformin, which has all kinds of side effects. Or maybe they're, I got people in their 20s or 30s being recommended a statin. And so, because their cholesterol is off. Well, you need cholesterol there's the building blocks of hormones. And so, maybe your cholesterol, we like it no higher than 249. And so, you need to be careful about the heart risk here. I've got a whole detailed blog on my website, fabfertile.com, all about lipids and statins and the overuse of those. And so if yours is high, we need to, look at the body and see what's driving it that way. And a lot of times we see things are off with the thyroid as well. So it's all interconnected. Looking at your B12, looking at your hormone levels too, and being able to, if we need to boost those up with, bioidentical hormones when you do the diet and lifestyle changes in conjunction. So the bottom line is AMH, just focusing on that number, it wastes your time. It is scary. It could trigger you and you think you have no other option. It's taking you in the wrong direction. Look at your health, get back to basics. If your sleep is off and you've got insomnia and you can't fall asleep and you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're dragging your butt in the morning because your adrenals are so fried, how are we going to sustain life? So we need to back this thing up in a short period of time. We can then improve the chances of our health. There's things we can do. But we have to do it in a targeted manner, because sometimes we're like, I did this and I did that and it didn't work. Well, no, because we didn't go deep enough. We went too wide. We did a generalized approach, and that's why it didn't work. So if we use testing, look at our blood work, and it is I keep saying this elephant in the room thing, but like the stress piece of this, of our modern day lifestyles, like we're all busy. Everyone's busy, but it's not about doing more. It's about pulling back on things and focusing on things that matter, which is the relationship with your partner, hanging out with some friends that make you like have a good laugh, going to your place of worship so you can, have connection with spirit, with God, whatever that is for you. Feeling that sense of peace, that knowing that everything's going to be okay instead of this panic that we get in the fertility clinic as we're a number on an assembly line, and they keep doing the same protocol for everyone, or they'll do the same protocol, transfer, retrieval after retrieval, and we didn't dig deeper into your health. So that can be a lot of money, and even if it's covered by insurance, we don't know the long-term side effects of all those medication and hormones pumped into your body. I got people doing 20 IVFs. Like, it's just because you have the means to pay for it and you have the insurance does not mean that's not the emotional heartache of going through that. And if you've had pregnancy loss, all of that piece, we have got to have some support on that. And this journey can impact every aspect of your life. And if someone hasn't gone through it, they do not understand. Like, this is something that, we as couples, as humans, we procreate. And if it's not working for us, that's our health is compromised, and we need to be able to work on our health so we can get things back online. Number 7, what to do if you've read It Starts with the Egg, What's Next? So there is some decent recommendations in that book. I think she's on her 3rd edition of it, at least the 2nd edition. Maybe she has a 3rd. I'm not sure. Definitely a 2nd edition came out. And so it gives some good recommendations. A lot of it is geared to do IVF, and then also like pushing there's a lot of supplements there, like a boatload of supplements. Our thing is some of those things can be generalized recommendations, right? Where people are like, everyone tells me, I read with It Starts with the Egg, and I followed all the recommendations and it hasn't worked. Maybe you did the AIP diet. Maybe you went gluten, so the AIP, autoimmune protocol diet. So which is basically taking out the top allergens, plus you're taking out grains and nightshades and going a lot deeper. Maybe it's too, that can be too restrictive to start with. We start with an elimination diet. And then if you do have an autoimmune issue, then we can do an AIP diet. But maybe with the thyroid piece, we see a lot of, so basically in the book there, it does say to look at your vitamin D, which a lot of time we want vitamin D between 60 to 80. We see a lot of people being told it's normal when it's 30. That's a hormone. We need to have that, improved. And it's not just about supplementing. It's, looking at your gut health. And if there is an autoimmune issues going on, and maybe you have an infection, it can be linked with infections too in your gut as to why it's low. I see over and over again, people with low AMH, and studies indicate it with the low vitamin D. So that's a key biomarker to dig deeper into your health. Also looking at the thyroid, which we've already talked about here. So subclinical thyroid is increased with the 15%. Hang on. 40% of women. Oh my goodness, I can't read this. Plus, subclinical hypothyroidism increased to 15% with ovulatory infertility and 40% with women with POF. That's why just not looking at the TSH is not enough. We need to look at the full panel, including your antibodies. Being able to dig more into the food sensitivity piece. So like the book, they're talking about going gluten-free, which can be good, but maybe we see on our stool test that people are gluten-free, but they're still getting gluten because the body can then identify other cross reactors as gluten. So dairy, it can identify as gluten, mounts an immune response. Corn, oats, some of those foods that can be that the body then thinks is gluten and mounts an immune response to it. So cross reactors. A lot of taking some DHEA, which is a standard of care if you have diminished ovarian reserve and premature ovarian insufficiency, to take DHEA, but no one's testing it. Maybe it's not low to begin with. And maybe it's bioidentical hormone. Maybe you need some progesterone, or you need estrogen. And so the DHEA piece can have a lot of side effects, greasy skin, greasy hair. Maybe you don't need it. Yours was fine, but they just said, hey, you've got DOR, diminished ovarian reserve, take the DHEA, and then too many supplements. If you wanted to listen to that episode, I go into a deep dive about also all the recommendations not all the recommendations, the top recommendations in the book, and sort of our take on it. And it's taking that and going deeper, because a lot of times people will do something and say, hey, I did that, it didn't work, but you didn't do it long enough. You didn't tweak it to your body. You just followed generalized recommendations. So although that book can be helpful, We want to take a personalized approach. We're all different. Next one is number 8, why a mineral deficiency matters when you're trying to conceive. This one's a good one. We do this hair tissue mineral analysis test, and I tell you, this test is cheap. Like, it's under $100. And you look at it, you're like, what? And it's basically taking some hair from your head, and although sometimes if you don't have any hair on your head, you take it in other parts of your body, but it's looking at mineral deficiencies and heavy metals. And so we do see this where people are just very low in their minerals, and they're the spark plugs of the body, and maybe that's why you're not able to conceive. And then maybe you see people with high aluminum, high elevated arsenic, elevated uranium, some of the, depending on where you are in the world, with some of the water you might be drinking. So we're exposed to over 80,000 chemicals. And if you're slathering all that stuff on your skin and you're inhaling it, you're ingesting it, and all the pesticides and things that our food are exposed to, that's why it's, if they're spraying the fields and the people are wearing masks and Tyvek suits, like white suits, to protect their bodies, what do you think that's doing to our health? And to our, in cord blood, they found all these chemicals, and from all the things that we're exposed to. So either heavy metals that we can look at that, and it's not about doing some huge protocol to kick it out of your body. We've got to be very gentle with this because we're trying to conceive, and people do these chelation things and very heavy detoxes. It can be too much for the body. So we're looking at the minerals. So your sodium, your potassium, your magnesium, selenium, copper, iron, calcium. And what's going to deplete our minerals? Well, the first one is stress. And so we're not about, when I speak to hundreds of women and I ask how their stress is, people are usually out of 10 the highest, 6, 7, 8. Some people tell me 12. It is like they are stressed to the max. So how do we pull back a little bit? Say no to this. Minimize the time with the toxic friend. Even if maybe our mom or our dad is toxic, do we need to call them every day? Maybe we go down to every other day. Maybe we go down to once a week. Maybe what lights you up? Is it going outside in nature? Is it to going to your place of worship? Is it to hang out with some girlfriends to have a good laugh? What makes you happy? Is it reading? Is it, reading a favorite book? Is it maybe watching a favorite movie that makes you have a good laugh? Or maybe you need a good cry too. That can be good too. So all that piece with the stress, just really dig into that piece of what feels right for you. And a lot of it is, looking for the signs, because the signs are all around us, and knowing that we're all connected. And like your sense of purpose, all of that piece is so important to keep, because we're just running around in some stress cycle, which is not helpful. And even if you're like, I don't feel stressed, but is your body stressed? Gut infection, so depletes our minerals, stress, gut infections. Our food and soil is already depleted, tap water. So it is it's got the fluoride piece. No, like fluoride, we don't want that in our water. So make sure it's filtered. And then also chlorine too, where, people are, all that piece can then impact your thyroid. So the mineral deficiency is key. A lot of times we see it very low and depleted on people because of years of chronic stress. You're trying to sustain life, and you need all these nutrients and minerals to sustain life, and that may be why it's not working. So we can really tweak that for you. Number 9 is episode for this year is top tips to improve pregnancy success in their 40s. That's, people are told at the age of 40 that your fertility is going to fall off a cliff and there's nothing you can do. Well, we've helped lots of people in their 40s get pregnant naturally. People with an AMH of 0.02 at 44 getting pregnant naturally. People that haven't had periods in years in their 40s, bringing back the period. So it is to be able to work on everything you do with your health. That's what improves your egg quality, reducing inflammation. So looking at those homocysteine levels, the CRP level, the HCRP level too, being able to look at those biomarkers, so indicator of inflammation in the body, making sure your nutrient status is up, being able to work on that stress piece. And it is a myth that sperm does not decline with age. We have got to look at the male partner. We got to look at his semen. I can't tell you how many people tell me, oh, the motility is low, the morphology is lower. No one's even looked at DNA fragmentation. So we need to look at his sperm and then his blood work, and it's the same issues. If he's got a glucose issue, he's got issues with his cholesterol, then we need to, that impacts the sperm. So in a short period of time, we can improve egg and sperm, but we've got to make concerted efforts. And it's not about, we got to be careful about following all these cold plunges and extreme things that may be okay for guys, but if your adrenals are fried and you're doing a cold plunge and you're staying in there forever, like that can be really hard for women. Maybe better for men. Even some of those restrictive, all this fasting too, it can be too long and too hard for a woman that's cycling and trying to have your baby. So you have to be very careful about each person has their own goals. And it's more of a nourishing and gentle approach. We're sustaining life here. It's not about running and exercising, endurance training, all this sort of stuff at boot camp, or if you're doing CrossFit training, like it's too much. and even if that's how you cope with stress, maybe that's how you cope with stress, but is your body really coping? So lots of things to do to improve pregnancy success in your 40s. People get pregnant in their 40s all the time. So it is be able to take a concerted effort, a targeted approach to be able to look at your health. It's not about you rushing to the clinic, pumping your body full of hormones. Let's figure out why it hasn't worked. Number 9, top tips to restore the period if you have low AMH and high FSH. Yeah, just listen to that episode. I do a deep dive on that. We see a lot of people that with inflammation, thyroid issues. A lot of times when we balance the thyroid, then the period can come back. Sometimes we need some bioidentical hormones that can help too, but we got to do those targeted diet and lifestyle changes. But top tips to restore period health with low AMH and high FSH is key. And a lot of this is the adrenals. When we nourish the adrenals, that impacts the thyroid, and then lo and behold, the period comes back. It is kind of faceted, this approach. So it's not always just the thyroid. But as we, address food sensitivities, gut infections, blood sugar, thyroid, mineral deficiencies, heavy metals, other stress, mental and emotional stress, then we can bring the period back. And so it's not before the age of 40. We don't need to wait the year for them to say we're definitely in menopause. Well, no, before the age of 40, it's not menopause. After 40, when the period goes away, it could be, but then also we've had people in their 40s have the period come back. So, menopause is not like in your early 40s, usually in the 50s. But we need to see why is your body. And we do see many people that got the jab, COVID jab back in, a few years ago. And then lots of studies coming out about how people's cycles were impacted. Either they became absent or they're very irregular. So we need to boost up the immune system, which is key on that piece. And it's not about taking more shots. That's a personal decision. But as we're trying to have our baby, we need to be very mindful of extreme informed consent before you put anything like that in your body. Okay. And then number 10, what have I got? I feel like I messed up a number there. No, we're good. Yeah. So, this is actually 11. I think I've got 12. Okay. So why a CGM can help with embryo implantation. Definitely check out that episode. Continuous glucose monitor. A theme we see with low AMH and high FSH is blood sugar imbalance. Maybe not full-blown diabetes, and maybe you're saying it's not pre-diabetes, but if your blood sugar is on this roller coaster, that can impact embryo implantation. It can impact ovulation, your menstrual cycle, your blood sugar. Like it can be issues around with irregular periods or absent periods and ovulation. So having a continuous glucose monitor, popping that on your arm can be really beneficial and can help to improve your chances there. So with the continuous glucose monitor, we can look at your meals. We can see exactly how stress and your food can impact your blood sugar. So then we can really tailor and customize this diet that's right for you. And sometimes people have a little bit of sweet potato in it, it spikes it. Or maybe, when you have fruit, but it's not about avoiding fruit. It's maybe you can have fruit with some nuts so that they keep it steady. Before bed, if your blood sugar is, plummeting during the night, maybe we have a little snack like a fat bomb before bed, apples with some almond butter or with some walnuts, to keep your blood sugar stable during the night, and then starting the day with more protein and healthy fats. So looking at your blood sugar, this is something that we see, like, literally everyone should do a continuous glucose monitor at least once, so to understand your health and how food impacts your body, especially if you're on the fertility journey and you've got issues with your period, it's irregular or it's absent, you're not sure if you're ovulating, there's implantation failure, things are not, you've had pregnancy loss. Looking at a CGM, continuous glucose monitor, can be a game changer, so definitely check that out. And number 12, so how to increase AMH levels before starting IVF. Our thesis again on here, is it actually early menopause, or is it your adrenals? Nourishing your adrenals and bringing everything back in balance by looking at that nutrient-rich diet, by taking supplements that are right for you, not a boatload, but addressing infections, optimizing nutrient status, working on the stress piece of this, being able to visualize a positive path forward, knowing that everything's going to be okay and not feeling that panic and that, I'm going to fight this, all this sort of stuff. It's more of a receiving and a surrender, and knowing that your body is healthy and is fertile and it wants to procreate, and being able to look at your biomarkers and make a decision if or when you need to do an IUI, an IVF, a PRP, or donor eggs, right? So it sometimes it just comes a certain time where we want to go to the next step. And we, our program, our Fab Fertile method, supports you every step of the way, but we can't outrun the health. Like, it'll catch up to us either during our pregnancy, during our postpartum period, maybe when we're breastfeeding, we're going to struggle. Maybe, years later, and also the health of your children, because we haven't worked on our health. And so we're affecting, the future generations. And then maybe your health later, like me, I discovered it years later and was able to reverse a lot of my chronic sinusitis, my UTIs, the infections that I had, and all of it was stress. And even though I have tons of energy and I'm like, let's go here, my body was like, no, let's just slow down. And so doing things that make you happy, and actually, hiring a team around you, so that you can see a positive path forward on this. And so, it's not about overworking. If you're doing all that, 50 hours a week, or then your hope is very low that you don't even think it's going to work. So you self-sabotage yourself and you're drinking and doing a bunch of other stuff, right? I think we all know that eating processed food, ultra processed food, drinking a bunch of alcohol, smoking weed, all that stuff is not good for our health or our fertility. But it's not about you being a monk and suffering over here. It's eating whole foods that make you feel great, focusing on your intimacy and your relationship that as you build a strong foundation. Because I'm going to tell you, when these kids are here, we all know this. You don't want to maybe hear me say it, but they'll exhaust you. Mine have just left. So both of them were not finally, but my daughter's 23, my son's 20. He moved out last year. He's out west, doing an electrical apprenticeship, and my daughter's was at school, university, came back. As soon as he left, she came back, and now she's just left. So we are empty nesters, and we're selling this house, and we're gonna go do our thing. But you really need to maintain your relationship. I've been married for, what is it now? I was getting mixed up. 28 years, and you need to be able to talk to each other, communicate, build that solid foundation now before the children come, because it can be stressful. And so you're in a very powerful position right now to work on your health, to work on your relationship, to really feel connected and that you're in this together, right? And this journey will pull you apart or bring you close together. And what I see with the people that we work with, it's brought them closer together. They're more in love than ever, and they can see a path of what they want to do, and it's in a calm manner. It's not in a panic. Whatever happens will happen, and they can meet each obstacle or each opportunity. They can meet it together. And if you're single, we see a lot of women that are doing this by themselves because they haven't met their man, and sometimes they come in and they're like, I'm going to work on my health. I'm going to manifest my man. And lo and behold, they work on themselves and the man shows up. Or maybe you're doing this, by yourself, and we support people doing that too. So it is, doing this in a very calm manner and targeted, right? We don't want to waste time because a lot of this stuff, pumping your body full of all these hormones can waste time because we see people that it hasn't worked. So if you've got low AMH or high FSH, really encourage you to book a call with us and we can come up with a plan for you. So to recap, start the elimination diet, January the 1st, giddy up, get that going. You want to fast track it? Let's do some testing. So stool testing, food sensitivity testing, genetic testing, different from that karyotyping testing you're going to do at the fertility clinic. Looking at your blood work. Let's make sure they're in the optimal levels. Being told everything is normal? No, we don't want that. Optimal. And then working on your stress, being able to feel calm and centered and closer to your partner than ever. We work with same-sex couples as well. So closer to your partner than ever and being able to visualize a positive path forward, because pumping your body with hormones, spending $60K takes 3 cycles at an average cost of $60K for IVF is not your first step. It's not you going to the OBGYN and next thing you know, you're in the fertility clinic and you're going to different fertility clinics all over the country and wondering why things aren't working. Let's work on your health. And, so the doctors are there we're thankful that they're there. They've gone through all this training for an acute illness, such as a broken bone or a burst appendix. But for multifactorial or multifaceted health issues such as fertility, which can be blood sugar, thyroid, gut infections, food sensitivities, stress, your adrenals, all these different issues, pumping it with medication is not the solution. It can be helpful to boost things up, but we need to look at the underlying reasons why it's off. And chronic disease, conventional medicine is failing millions and millions of people. And so this is why we've got to be our own advocate, take our health in our own hands, know our numbers. If the doctor won't tell you the number, like that is your blood work. You need to know it. And so hopefully this was helpful. And definitely go back and check out those episodes. We'll have them in the show notes there, and wishing everyone a wonderful 2025. Take care.